Okay, class, during our last meeting or our last video, we talked about how the church reached to Sanoe, and that was in 1917. As we said, it was like the church was about 57 years old. So it moved to Sanoe, and then, as we said, uh, the Bella program was also established there. In fact, it was in Sanoe. Something happened. A lot of changes took place when the church got to Sanoe. One of them was it was the time one Sumoyabo, who was not connected to the mission work as before, like a student or like someone who had worked with the mission. He was not of that, but he was the first native speaker or native evangelist that was selected by the missionary to lead and supervise the church. But then, unfortunately, because of language barrier, he could not understand the missionary's English, and the missionary could not understand his Bella language. Therefore, since they could not understand one another, this was the point where they have to terminate his activities. But that did not stop the church. It continues to grow. And then on that Sunday mission, a dispensary was open, and then an orphanage was open, and then a lot of things started to go on. Even when there were a war between the Liberian government and the Chokola people. At the time, the government was claiming land. So if you have ever heard about Swakoko, that was the time Swakoko was in support of the government, and then the government began to claim land. And because the people of that place did not want to give their land out easily, there was a war. And then due to this war, people ran to the Lutheran mission in Sanoe for refuge. Again, the Sanoe mission also helped in when there was an air crash in 1952. So the airstrip was used to transport government officials to to Sanoe. Right now, the victim of that or those who died in that crash were buried on the Lutheran Church's land. But the only thing now is that if you went to Sanoe, you will find out that this place is covered up by the government, because right from the edge of the old airstrip, you will find out that you have the magisterial court, you have the police station or the police depot. Then on the right side of it, you will see the commissioner compound. So that's what had happened to that portion of it. And then again, further backward, while facing the cemetery, you will see that the government school is also built right there. So that means portion of that land, of the Sanoe land, have been given over to the government to use. Of course, the mission station still remain where we have our church work going on. So those are some of the things we want to tell you about the mission in Sanoe. Then, as we said, in 1932, this mission was again extended to Bletana. Bletana is the preaching point of the Bunuta Lutheran Parish. The church started there, then traveled by way of Bunuta, then through to Balafanai, the same year, 1932. But unfortunately, again, like any other missionary in the early days, as David Dickler also died in 1933 with what is referred to as black water disease. And of course, the church began to grow from Balafanai. It went to Fokwala. From Fokwala, then it began to spread out all the way to the Guinean border. So it means that on the right side of the river, facing Guinea, on the right side of the river, of course, the Lutheran Church had reached the Guinean border. Then what happened? And who brought the church who was very active in bringing the church to Sunray was uh, Pastor Ezra D. Keller, who later became the first national president of the Lutheran Church in Liberia, or of the Lutheran Mission in Liberia. Then Pastor Keller did not only stop in Sunray and then go to Toronto, but he also crossed the St. Paul River to what we call Palakola, and the Palakola station was open among the Pella people on the other side of the St. Paul River. Then, of course, as we were going, we stopped along the way because we said that the church was, the Loma people has asked the church to go. So after it has established among the Pella people in the Sunray area, all the way to Belafanai, and then to Fokwala, and then to the border, we found out that then the mission was extended to the people in Loma land, as we refer to in our note. And then what happened? At that time, government of Liberia has reached as far as Loma land. So when the church entered Loma land, people were sent in whose names you will find in the note. When they went there, they discovered that there were two places where the Liberian government at the time had control over. That means they had soldiers stationed there, they had commissioners stationed there. So then they went, and there were two places in Loma land where, which was possible for the mission to be established. One is Zigida, and then the other one is Zozo. But the Zozo mission, the Zozo area was selected, and of course the church was established there. And then, but before the church was established, when the people got there and began to work, what happened was that the commissioner at the time, one boy, he stopped the work when the missionary had returned to Monrovia to see how they could get their things back. So he stopped the work, saying that he wanted to get paper from the government to make sure that the mission was really approved by the Liberian government. So then, that's how come when the missionary returned, Pastor Lynch and his wife, when they returned, they saw that the work had stopped. So they went back to the government and got the requisite paper that allowed them to establish the mission there. So when they came back, about 250 men and women were asked to work on the mission. But then they have to bring their things from KP to Zozo. And how will they do that? So they went back to the chief in KP and asked him to send people to send them, to send people so that they will get the missionaries belonging to Zozo. And then they went through the negotiation. Then the chief asked that they should pay each person 4 shillings to take the material from KP to Zozo. And when they went through that process, the money was high at the time, so they could not. And that's how come 100 men left from Lofa, Zozo, to come for the load. So when they came, they took the road, the missionaries belonging, and walked 10 days to reach back to the mission station in Zozo. And that was the time the mission was established, and the school was established. And later, the hospital and school of nursing was also transferred there. And then they started to work. So the first the first members of the church were school children. In that congregation right now, St. John in Zozo at the time was called Inline Emmanuel Inland Mission. So that was it. No, Gettysburg, sorry, Gettysburg Mission. And that's how it was when it was called, when it was a mission station. And that grew up and began to spread out. And you can follow the list. It spread out to Bodie, which is Bishop Emeritus Pin's hometown. And then it went to Yela. It went to Woolsey. It went to the various areas around there where you find the church. And that's how it was. And then again in there, as we said, the church began to work. There were people who were working along with the church. They worked along with the church until the church was established. So as I said, the first group of people that were baptized were students from the school. At that time, people who were close to the mission were only the mission workers and the students. And these people were the ones that were used from the beginning. So that when the school was open, you have people who came from MVD and DVED boy and girl school to come and serve as teacher. And that is how the Lutheran school system was like. Teachers, students are graduated from the MVD girls school, and then DVED boys school were used as student, as teacher to establish the Lutheran church school system. So that's how it was like, and then the church has spread out there. It was there until then, of course, the church began to come back to Monrovia because it never had any good, any place in Monrovia. There was only a guest house built or a house built for the business manager. And then so people from out came to Monrovia, passed through the office, go to Muhlenberg, and then walk through until they went to the border of Liberia and Guinea. So then the church began to continue to work. So then it started to come back on the other side. So then the church moved to LTI, Salaye. When they got to LTI in 1957, the Lutheran school LTI that was in Muhlenberg was moved there, and it is right there today. And then, of course, Salaye area also began to grow. Then they started to extend from Salaye towards the St. Paul River again, because Salaye is across, so they began to evangelize to come to the St. Paul River again. So that led to the formation of parishes like Berlin, like the other school. Sorry, I will pick it up later. And then it came up until it got across the river again and got to Bellefontaine, where the church was established. Then from there, the church was established in Banga, but later on it was in Nimba because of the Lanco joint venture iron ore company that was established in Lamco, which was from the Swedish, which has some Swedish people working there, and they sent pastors to work along with the people. And of course, Yekepa was opened as a parish or as a Lutheran church area, and that's how it went on. And later, so it means that the church had traveled from Muhlenberg to KP to Sanoye to Palaquela, then to Zozo, to Bellefontaine, and then now it's trying to find its way to Monrovia.